What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday night to you. Happy Saturday night to you. It's the nighttime now. So I got a great show lined up for us today. You see the title. You see Gilbert Arenas. The title being, "Why Did This Spark Controversy?" Gilbert Arenas, the last about a week and a half, he's been the talk of the NBA. He's been the talk of sports news. He's been making some what I see as rational takes. Other people are crashing out. So let's get to it. I cover the top sports topics of the week. I got a great show set up for us today. Gilbert Arenas has current and former players crashing out, but none of them are actually attacking what he said. Why is that? There are a lot of people saying this is Kobe disrespect, which I don't agree with, and I'll show you how the media is starting a fire, calling the fire station to report the fire like they didn't create it. We also have comment creeping later on. We're going to look at my comment section on my most viewed TikToks, and actually, in today's show, we're going to grab something from the YouTube channel because I've been more active on YouTube. Off the record D, all one word. Follow me on X, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. Off the record D on all platforms. Keeping this thing going. Full replays will be released as a video and podcast format 11 a.m. on Sundays with timestamps. So I do this podcast for a couple hours. So if you're not able to stay with me for the full 2 hours, on Sunday morning you'll be able to go on there and you'll be able to get wherever you left off at, and you can kind of continue it from there. So that's that. Also, another thing. So actually, let me. I'm not gonna pull it up, but this is something I want to say. I'm looking to grow my YouTube and my TikTok platforms. I have videos that people are tapping into. I'm sparking interest. I'm sparking thought, creating spaces for conversation. And because of that, tap in with your boy. Help me grow and become bigger on YouTube and on TikTok. So if you watch my videos on YouTube or TikTok, you comment it. You're going back and forth in the comments with people. Give me a chance. Hit that like and subscribe, especially on YouTube. YouTube, I'm trying to get to 500 subs by, I would say, to start the first Browns kickoff. So that 1 p.m. on that Sunday of the first Browns game, I'm trying to get my subscriber count to 500 on YouTube. That's a goal I set for myself. I'm going to be putting out content every single day. I got some ideas of different ways I'm going to deliver my content on YouTube. So definitely be looking for me there, and check me out. Help me reach that goal, getting to 500 subscribers on YouTube. On TikTok, I'm looking to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm trying to do that by the same time. I'm trying to get there by kickoff of the first Browns game. So that's the challenge. You see it. I'm putting out 3 videos a day on TikTok. I'm responding in the comments in TikTok. I'm what's the word? I'm setting up a space where people can kind of do their sports debating in my comments based on the videos I'm putting out. Doing some big numbers over there. So just my latest video that did really well on TikTok. Just off that video alone, if I would say if a tenth of the people who actually watched that video and commented on that video, 10th of the people who watched it, I would hit that goal of 1,000 followers on TikTok. So help me reach those 2 goals. I am going to start to push that more. You will hear me speaking on it, just talking about how I'm trying to get to that 500 subscriber goal on YouTube and that 1,000 follower goal on TikTok. So those are some of my goals that I have moving forward. Hopefully my sound is coming through good. Let me do a quick sound check. So I just got to pull this up on my phone. Hopefully everybody's doing well on this Saturday night. I actually, now I'm always conscious of if my sound is actually coming through, because I did a 3-hour podcast one day with no sound coming through. So now I'm super conscious and aware of it. So let's see. All right, so did that quick sound check. My sound is coming through, so that's good. I was a little bit nervous there. I'm like, that's something I definitely got to check before I get too deep into it. You get deep into your thoughts. You get deep into, going through your episode or everything you put together for the week, just trying to put on a good show, be entertaining, spark the minds of people. And I did that. And that one time, I'm telling you, I got 3 hours down, and you can hear every video I posted, but you can never hear my commentary. It was definitely a fail. So at the end of the day, I was really feeling the pain on that one. I ended up doing a voiceover for that episode because I just couldn't. I was like, man, do I want to do a 3-hour podcast over? And I set myself some goals where I want to put out a certain amount of content a day. So I knew that by not sticking to that and following through, then I would have set myself back. So, it ended up being an 8-hour day between the podcast, editing, reposting, getting my timestamps for the video when it releases. So I put in the work, made the sacrifice. That's what you got to do. When you're trying to get better at something, you're going to go through growing pains. You can go through times where you mess up, times where you slip up. But, it's all part of the process. It's all part of the game. But, you got to go through it to get better. So, all right, let's get into the show. So, the first topic is, let's see. Let me get this set up for y'all. We're going to the NBA. We're going to the association. All right, so let's see. Let me get this on the screen so y'all can see what I'm talking about. All right, you got it there. All right, so the Cavs finally make some moves. They made 2 moves today, actually. They traded Isaac Okoro for Lonzo Ball. We're going to cover that. They also re-signed Sam Merrill. So, the way I'm looking at this is Isaac Okoro, he needed to develop something on offense, but in certain cases, guys, they are who they are. They struggle at getting better at areas of weakness. And Isaac Okoro was a great perimeter defender. He was a hustle guy. He gave full effort. But in the playoffs, he became a liability. So when teams can just sag off of him, then they can crowd the paint more. Then they can, so Donovan trying to drive, that's going to clog up the lane. If Evan Mobley is trying to do his thing in the post, that's going to clog up the lane. And you can't have a lineup where that Jared Allen is not going to stretch the floor with his shooting and then add another player who's not going to be a threat from shooting. You just kind of condense the floor and make it hard for your offense. So I wish Isaac Okoro the best. He definitely gave some hustle. I like this trade. This trade is all hinged on Lonzo Ball's health and his ability to stay healthy going forward. Now, the beauty of this is there's a team option on the second year of this contract. So if things don't work out, the Cavs are not tied to it, and they can shed, $10 million the following season if they don't want to pick up his team option. So that's that. Also, the Cavs re-signed Sam Merrill. Let me get that pulled up. I should have had it pulled up. I don't mind the Cavs re-signing Sam Merrill. I just think that where is the deal? All right, so Sam Merrill, they got him for 4 years, $38 million. I think this was a key signing that they had to do because you got to make sure you can space the floor. You have to space the floor, especially with the team we have and what we like to do offensively. You need those guys who can space the floor. I think this also says that Ty Jerome might not be coming back just because of the cost of what he'll be. And he had a really rough go at it in the playoffs. And there are some things that I just don't know if he can improve on drastically in this window that the Cavs are in and trying to really take advantage of what is going on in the East this year. So with everything going on in the East and it kind of being wide open, you don't really have the time to hope that Ty Jerome develops next year. You just kind of got to go. You really got to hope that Lonzo is a lottery ticket and he can set up the offense. He can get the ball up court, smart IQ. He won't get stuck in the backcourt on those traps. I mean, once Ty Jerome couldn't get the ball past half court, then he was a defensive liability. You can't really play him in the playoffs. And we saw that in the Pacers series where we couldn't really play him once we got behind the 8 ball in that series. So, I mean, if we don't get Ty Jerome next year, if we don't have Ty Jerome going forward, I appreciate everything he did for the Cavs, but it's one of those ones where, just a casualty of war when you're trying to get better. So that's our Cavs stories there. I don't think the Cavs, and they're kind of breaking it down here, the Cavs are not going to be doing a lot of things because they are a second apron team. So they're going to try to, push their chips in and go all in this year. But they're a second apron team, so don't be looking for the Cavs to make some big splashy moves. And Kobe Altman has already said that he believes in our core four. And with that, just don't look for, don't get your hopes up and be let down is what I'm trying to say. All right, so Ace Bailey. This Ace Bailey situation, it's kind of been all over the place. We were getting reporting prior to the draft that there were certain teams that he did not want to play for, and he canceled some workouts, but he did work out at the combine, so all teams got his medicals and everything. I think that people were using that as an opportunity to take shots at him, which it doesn't seem like he is a bad kid. When they talk to him, when they interview him, he doesn't seem like a bad kid. So I think it's just, actually, he doesn't seem like a bad guy. I'm not going to call him a kid because he's a grown man. Once you can sign that contract, you're a grown man. He doesn't seem like a bad guy. It could have been some things that got out because he wasn't dealing with a well-known agent. And to me, it seems like the stuff that got out was stuff that happens every year. And Marcus Spears, that video that I was playing there, that's him arriving in Utah. People were saying, oh, he's going to sit out the year. He's going to try to force his way out of Utah. That doesn't work. The NBA, the way it's designed, the way their CBA is set up, they control his rights for 7 years. He's not sitting out 7 years. So in the NBA, it's not like the NFL. The NFL, you don't come to a contract agreement. You can sit out a year, re-enter the draft. 1 year versus 7 years. One of them you got a chance, one of them you're not sitting 7 years. So that's that. We knew he wasn't going to try to, he couldn't force his way anywhere else once he got drafted. Now, we have Mark Spears. Mark Spears put this out on June 27. He said, Ace Bailey's story reminds me about Steph Curry's father and agent asking the Warriors not to draft him in 2009 with the 7th pick so he could go to the Knicks with the next pick. Steph also didn't work out for the Warriors. Undeterred, Warriors GM Larry Riley drafted Steph anyway. So when you look at these situations, I think they're comparable because people are having a hard time going back to the time frame when the situation happened. Steph Curry coming out of Davidson, he was not just lock Hall of Fame player. He had some upside, but people thought he was undersized. Teams picked other point guards ahead of before he got drafted. So it wasn't just this lock. And that's, people are looking at it through the lens of Steph Curry's a Hall of Famer now, not through the lens of what Steph Curry was at that time. He was all potential before he played an NBA game. Ace Bailey is all potential. The only difference is the way we get information now versus the way we got information in 2009. 2009, we weren't getting the ins and outs of people wanting to go to teams, not wanting to go to teams. That's the new normal now, where we get more information based on how the media reports it. So I disagree with the people who were saying, but he's not Steph. Yeah, that's not really an argument. That's why let me rant for a second here. That's why I don't do the hypothetical debates. I don't do the coulda, woulda, shoulda debates. I don't do any of those I really don't debate people. I state how I feel about something, and then I might, go back and forth in the comments and reach, go conversations with people, but I have no problem with just stating how I feel clearly. You don't have to guess. You don't have to think that I'm insinuating something. No, I'll just tell you how I feel about it, and I'll move forward. So I know that happened to me in my YouTube comments this week. Somebody was saying, because I said Shaq was dominant in three-peat, it seems like I was insinuating that Kobe was nothing. And I'm like, no, I'm just clearly stating that Shaq was this. I never even mentioned Kobe in the comment. So, just one of those things where I don't like when people kind of drag you into those back and forth hypothetical shoulda, woulda, coulda debates. So that's that on Ace Bailey. More power to him. He should have a good opportunity to excel in Utah. They got a great young coach. They're building a nucleus out there. So I'm not saying Utah is going to the finals, but it's definitely a place where you should be able to go and develop as a player. So that is Ace Bailey. Next. So the main point that a lot of people are missing, they are missing that Gilbert Arenas was looking for an understanding of how we got to this point with the NBA's top 75 rankings. He was in search of how we got to that point, and he had to go back in time and look at and kind of put together how they were grading it, how they were looking at things. So with that being said, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the media, because to me it's very clear Gilbert Arenas is calling out the media and saying, hey, y'all are saying this, but then y'all are doing this. Y'all are saying this is important, but then y'all are making this more valuable than this. So he's calling out the media. And sometimes the media struggles with covering something if they can't tie a story to it. And that's the case when it comes to what we're going to next. So Joy Taylor, let me get this updated for y'all. Joy Taylor said some things on, I believe it was the Joe Budden's podcast. I couldn't find it anywhere, so that's why I have to do my reaction based on Marcellus Wiley's reaction of covering this.
And it's a lot of times it's emotions. They just what's up, y'all? Smart.
Dang, what happened there? All right, so
And it's a lot of times it's emotions.
It could just be loud in my ear. Hopefully it's not too loud for y'all. Let's get to the beginning of this with Marcellus Wiley. So this is based on around Caitlin Clark. And this is why I say Caitlin Clark is polarizing. But also this is a case where I believe this is the media changing the narrative in real time of what happened. So let me find a spot. Fair use for me using this video. Now, I always say everybody can have their opinion. Joy Taylor is opinionated. I'm just not in a place where I got to agree with your opinion, but you're
all of
entitled
that
to have it.
happens at projecttransition.org. Okay, without further ado, Joy Taylor, you got the mic. Let go.
When Angel and Caitlin got into it in the championship game, and Angel did the ring thing, I said, this is the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird moment for the WNBA. Like, this is great. I'm a storyteller. I think storylines are so fucking important. I think you need villains. I think you need heroes. Mm-hmm. You need shit to sell. You got to sell a fight. Like, brand all of this. Mm-hmm. And it upset white men to watch this strong, winning, unapologetic black woman be in their, be in Caitlin's face.
Why your voice changing?
Marcellus, you thinking the same thing I'm thinking. But let's keep going.
I'll just play. All right, I spent this.
All right, so let's see. It's another point where she's going to be talking. Let me get to it. Or I think he leaves her talking, so let's see.
Up too, because we're going to get through this. So she's talking a little faster because I sped it up. Don't put that on her.
Save your space.
Yeah, and they still cling to it. And it's now like spun to this whole thing where like Caitlin's better than Angel and blah, blah, blah. I just said we would not be talking about Caitlin Clark the way that we do if it wasn't for that moment with Angel Reese. And I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill.
That, you see Marcella's face, that I can't agree with. That's why I said, you're entitled to have your opinion. I just don't have to agree with your opinion. Caitlin Clark was already building up her legacy. She was on her way to becoming one of the all-time leading scorers in women's college basketball. She already had crazy games. I believe she scored like 41 or 40-plus point triple-double prior to that. She was already building up a following. People were already watching her. That championship game is not the thing that drew people to Caitlin Clark. That's not it. People were drawn to Caitlin Clark based on her shooting ability and based on how she saw the court. They were drawn to her before that one game. Now, if you want to say the media wanted to use that as a narrative to tie it together, the black and white thing Larry Bird, Magic Johnson thing, then you can say the media wanted to use it as that. But Magic Johnson and Larry Bird could end up defending each other, could end up, scoring on each other. They don't play similar positions. They don't play similar style. Rarely are you going to see them match up on each other. So that's even a loose way to describe her versus Angel Reese. So let's keep it going.
I was with you until
I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill. I will fight this war.
Hey, Joy, chill out, yo.
300.
Now, I've been saying this. Anytime a person just goes to that point where they openly acknowledge that they will die on the hill for something, even if they are presented new data, I know that person is not open to having a conversation about it. Because they already told you they're going to die on that hill. So even presented with, data, statistics, facts, they're not going to change. So at that point, I wouldn't try to convince this person. But I'm not going to cheat y'all at a response. Let's let it play out.
Right. All right. So they are like, I don't know.
The reason you wouldn't is because I do this every goddamn day. I know what we talk about on my show. We were not doing WNBA topics, whole 15-minute segments on the fucking show until that happened. So fuck off.
So she feels strongly about this, and she's saying based on her show. One thing I would say is, now where you could be right is you weren't having those conversations on your show. You could be right. But then you would say, okay, were they having these conversations on any other shows? Especially the shows that exceed your show in ratings. Because then that will give you a better idea of how they're actually looking at the game and talking about it. Just off the top of my head, I can remember ever since the bubble in the WNBA and the NBA, there was more interest into women's basketball. Now, women's college basketball, I'll tell you, I always watch the tournament for women's basketball in college. I think that is some of the best women's basketball you'll get to see. They let them play. The athletes are younger. They play a more free-flowing style game. It's not really everybody gets a shot. If you got a star player, that star player gets the ball out in college. So I always watch the women's tournament. People were already going. So ESPN started to invest more in more coverage as they added the WNBA to their shows. They initially started on, I want to say it was ESPN2 that they started playing more WNBA games, because I would always catch the Vegas Aces on ESPN2 starting later at 10 o'clock because they're on the West Coast. Then as Caitlin Clark is coming up the ranks after they already has started to invest more into the WNBA, they naturally started to talk about Caitlin Clark. And it was before the national championship game, and at the very end of the game, Angel Reese taunted her. That is not when that happened. Maybe on her show, like I said, I'm giving her that. Maybe on her show it happened that way, and they couldn't figure out a way to talk about it. But other places were already covering it. At that time, you had Andrea Carter becoming a bigger presence on ESPN. You had Monica McNutt coming a bigger presence on ESPN. They would add segments where they would speak on college basketball, women's college basketball, and the WNBA with them on the show. So Joy could be in her bubble. She's only watching what they do on her show. She could not be looking at the competition and what they're doing, and she could have missed it. So I'm going to give her that grace, but I disagree. Let's see what we got from Marcellus.
I know what I'm talking about. Like, it's not about saying that Angel's better than Caitlin, or that Caitlin wouldn't be a great player. It is principle storytelling. I am not making this up. I know what we were talking about.
Okay. All right. Ooh.
So you heard that word. You heard that storytelling. That's one thing that I think people are kind of not really realizing and recognizing what they do on these shows and what they do. The writers do, the beat writers. They're trying to tell a story. We see it with the Shedeur Sanders stuff. If people don't know what it is, they'll just make up something and put it in there and say this has to be it. Mary Kay is always telling the story. Tony Grossi is telling the story. ESPN Cleveland is telling the story. The Yahoo writer that we covered a couple weeks ago telling the story. It's always someone that's trying to tell a story. So that's one thing you have to remember. That's where like the Kobe and Tmac thing came in. They were trying to tell a story. So I think people got to remember that. I don't think she's going to say anymore, but we're going to go forward to Marcellus Wiley breaking down. We have her point of it. Let's get to Marcellus Wiley. It's funny. He's going to use I think he's going to use ChatGPT when he break it down. Let's get to it. It should be right here.
Caitlin Clark was already the face of women's college basketball before the title game. Let's be real. Elite Eight game, Louisville, dropped 41, 12, and 10. So LeBron, Cleveland, coming back from 3-1 stuff. First 40-point triple-double in NCAA tournament history, men's or women's. Oh, nobody knew about her. Oh, she needed something else to get her going. That viral performance made national headlines, ESPN, Bleacher Report, SportsCenter, and even non-sports platforms, CNN, Today Show, maybe not FS1. Joy's point. Celebrities like LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Magic Johnson already tweeting about her before she reached the Final Four. If Magic tweeting about you, you know it's big, and you know he going to give you that. That was a great job. So, come on now. Her viewership numbers spiked before facing LSU, right? Iowa, South Carolina. 5.5 million people watched that game. At that point, that was the most watched basketball semifinal game ever for the women. Come on. And Caitlin Clark was the main draw. We knew what it was. And she outdueled Aaliyah Boston, Dawn Staley's juggernaut, and her, and it's the coach. Okay. Hype and viewership peaked because of Clark's stardom, not because of Angel Reese. She ain't played Angel Reese yet. All right, so media coverage. Let's talk about that. She already had major NIL deals. Nike, Buick, State Farm, before the championship. Oh, God. Sometimes people just late to the party. She had multiple magazine covers, AP Player of the Year, and led SportsCenter's top 10 numerous times during that year. Led. The New York Times Athletic were profiling her long before the Reese matchup. Won the Naismith Trophy and Wooden Award before the title game. She was already universally acknowledged as the top player in the country, even by Reese herself, who praised Clark multiple times publicly.
So this is one of those situations where this is a little bit of revisionist history. And then also, I told you, it's a dangerous spot when a person says they will die on this hill, even when somebody can present them new data, facts, and statistics. You know, when you just say before you get the new information, you refuse to be open to the new information, we don't even need to have a conversation. So you see it there. Marcellus Wiley broke it down. She had the NIL. She had the crazy triple-double. She had the viewership. She was on SportsCenter, like I was saying. She was on ESPN. Excuse me. So just because you weren't covering it on Fox Sports 1, it could be because y'all couldn't figure out how to tell a story about her. When in reality, all of these other people just saw her greatness. All of these other places saw her greatness. She had the Nike NIL, Buick, State Farm. She's in State Farm commercials now. She signed the biggest Nike contract for a WNBA player before she made it to WNBA. So if you were late to the party, that's okay. But just because you're late to the party, don't say everybody was late to the party. When you walked through that door late, the party was full already. You were just late to the party. You know, it's like when people have excitement for identifying a new music artist and they're like, man, I've been listening to them since the beginning, since they first started. Their first song that really went big, I was there with them. And then you have people who identify an artist after the first album comes out and does well and they enjoy it. Both of y'all are enjoying that artist, but to the person who didn't know this artist until their album came out would be crazy to say, man, this artist didn't do nothing before that album came out. That's kind of what Joy's doing. And this goes into the overall point of the show, you know, with the media telling a story. And you got to remember that. The media needs to tell a story. We saw it a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago at this point now. Brian Windhurst oh, if LeBron and Steve Nash do a podcast and all they're doing is talking about X's and O's and basketball, nobody's going to watch it. They need story. They need drama. That's what Brian Windhorst said. We are in a place where the main people who are on sports media. So if you look at the top people who are on FS1, the top people who are on ESPN, what background do most of them have? Most of them have a writing background. They're writers. Stephen A., the biggest one on ESPN, he has a writing background. Chris Broussard, he was a beat writer. Think about that. Beat writer. What do beat writers do? They're on the beat for a team that they cover, and they're always writing about them. What do writers do? Writers tell stories. What is Joy saying? The story wasn't there until this point. No, you were just late to the party. But we got it. Joy just was late to the party. She's willing to die on that hill of being wrong. That's okay. It's not the end of the world, but it just shows you the view of the media. I want to bring you into the other side of how the media thinks and views situation. Let's get to this next story. This next one, this is not really about the media, but this is LeBron showing some self-awareness. And he actually created a meme based on what he's going to talk about. So let me pull something up. So if you look at the screen now, this is a screenshot that I took from my Instagram when I was watching this game. They became a viral meme. And I remember I took a picture of it during the game off my TV because I was just as shocked as they were, and I posted it right during the game. Well, LeBron has some fond memories of that too. And let's get to it. So let's pull this down so y'all can see. I just want to show y'all that. I always say, oh man, I should bring this or that. So I actually was prepared today to bring y'all what I was talking about. So this is LeBron. Fair use.
Ever got away with?
Me?
Yeah.
The most egregious travel I ever got away with. And you know what? The basketball guys was not on my side. The one that comes to my mind right now, I was my second stint with Cleveland playing in Washington. And we were down 1. I got the ball in transition about half court. And I was driving the lane. It's late in the game. I was driving the lane, and I got into the lane, and I traveled like a mother. And I got all the way to the lane and missed the layup.
This is the layup. They didn't call it travel.
They did not call it travel. I blew the layup.
It's because you felt guilty.
I don't know if I felt guilty.
Brian, you took about 7 steps, man. Man, you went from here to the corner store. Man, you went road tripping on that one. Let's keep this thing going.
It felt weird.
I was
like, what are
they're
you
gonna call
doing?
this?
Like I had a wide open layup and missed it. It's the same game when I end up tying it, hitting the 3-pointer off the glass.
So they made a
After
bucket.
They made two free throws. And then I hit the.
So what do you mean the basketball gods weren't on your side?
Well, I mean.
They came back around.
Because it came back around because I'm true to the game. I missed it. If I would have made it,
right,
then we probably lost the game.
They found a way.
Yeah, they'd have found a way in.
Right.
Basketball guys stayed with me a little bit.
Beautiful. I love that.
We're gonna pull that clip, so guys, you know how people be like, LeBron's lying. He doesn't remember that. What is he talking about? That's exactly what happened. That was terrible. I had one this past season too in Orlando. That was so bad. Switched my pivot feet. Missed the shot too.
No call.
No call.
So I thought they were going to show the shot there. Let's see if I can pull this shot up. He hits this crazy shot. So Kevin Love is very underrated as a passer. Kevin Love is very underrated as a passer, but he was on the inbounds and he threw like a 3/4 court pass to LeBron on this play. Let's see if I can get it. I thought they were going to show it in that clip, but let's see if we can get this pulled up. All right, let's do this. Let's see if I thought I remember seeing somebody show the clip of it. might have to go to YouTube for it. All right, let's see if I'm gonna try one more time to see if I can find it here. Mine the game might have had it. Okay, so it might be in here.
Travel ever got away with, and you know what? The basketball guys was not on my side. The one that comes to my mind right now, I was my second stint with Cleveland playing in Washington, and because it came back around because I'm true to the game.
Right.
Then
Let's see if they showed a shot.
Lost the game.
They found a way to
yeah,
get
they
you
found a
beat,
way.
right.
Basketball guys stayed with me a little bit.
Beautiful. I love that.
Clips, so guys.
Yeah, so it was a crazy. Let's see if we can find it on YouTube real quick. I'm invested in trying to find this clip for y'all now. All right, let's see. I got some more clips to go. Let's see. Thought I'd dumb that up real quick. Let's see. Okay, I think we got it here. Let's see if we got it here. We got it. We don't need the thumbnail. Fair use of me showing this NBA. Don't get me. It's only a couple seconds, but look at this shot, y'all. Kevin Love on the inbound pass. 3/4 court pass to the sideline. Off the glass. Tie game. Crazy shot. So that's where that meme came from. Let's see if they showed a meme in this clip that I took a picture of the screen when they showed it. The team just looking at it. Everybody's looking like, what did he just do? Insane. There it is. So when they showed that on the screen, I took a picture of it real quick and I posted it on my I think I posted it on my IG. That's how everybody felt that way. Everybody felt that way. So yeah, I had to find that for y'all. What we got next? So last week we covered last week we covered the Pivot podcast and Draymond Green. No. Let's see. So last week I covered the Pivot podcast and how they spoke on LeBron and ring culture. And then now they have Draymond Green on there, a champion. They're going to ask Draymond Green about that situation. And let's see if they keep that same energy that they had when they were there by themselves speaking on LeBron. So let's get to it here. Let's get this played.
Everything else feels like a failure. Playing Toronto and getting there and not winning it, that's a failure. Playing the Cleveland Cavaliers and being up 3-1 and losing, that's a failure. To many other people, that's a great success, but when you feel what it feels like to have the trophy, everything else is just a part of the journey on the way to a destination that's ultimately important. Recently, LeBron James spoke about ring culture and how, in summarizing, like, it doesn't define like the individual's greatness. I disagree with that. I think part of being great is being great in the most important moments that allow your individual talents to elevate a team. How do you see LeBron's comments, but also how do you feel about ring culture and the value that we put on that as it pertains to individual teams and players?
So I understood what Brown was trying to say. I do think, and I get the point. I don't think he did a good job of explaining it. And so when you are a champion, easy for you to say, yo, it don't matter because I'm a champion. But what Bron was trying to say, at least what I think he was trying to say, you got people that haven't done this, and they use that to dumb down the greatness of other guys that haven't necessarily done it. Chris Paul is a winner. I tell people all the time, Chris Paul ain't never won a championship. Chris Paul is a winner. Never fortunate enough to get quite get over the hump for whatever reason, whether that was his individual ability, but that don't mean he ain't great. And so I understand what Brian was saying, because it's like, well, if you didn't, in this media culture that we live in today, it's like, well, he ain't got a ring, so I could just blah, blah, blah. I could just crush this guy. And that's what Brian was getting at. It's like, don't take away these guys' greatness because they didn't get a ring, and then you just start speaking on the ring. But you've never, like, for a lot of people, they've never even played at this level. And so, and they use that to tag these guys. But you don't know how hard it is to win a championship. And so you start talking about these guys that didn't win, but you don't know how hard it is to win a championship. So when they say ring culture and kind of use it as this from its negative connotation, what Bron is saying, I'm watching these people say, this guy ain't great, that guy ain't great, this guy ain't great, because they didn't win a ring. They still great. And so what it boils down to for me is, I get what he was saying, because those guys he named a few names. To me, they are still great. Yes, they didn't win a ring, but I know it's so much more that has to go right to win that ring. And you don't have a clue. And you're gonna crush this guy, and you don't know what it takes. You don't know all the things that need to go right. To win a ring, that shit is hard. It's very, very, very hard. You speak on ring culture. It's worked against Kevin Durant in the opposite way. It's so hard to win a ring. Our teams made it look so easy that people say Kevin Durant just went over there and walked to a ring. Man, without Kevin Durant, I don't know if we was going to win another championship.
Ooh. Draymond Green said something real right there. So, as a Cavs fan, I know that if they keep Harrison Barnes over Kevin Durant, we can defend that team. The Cavs can. When they added that extra layer and that scoring ability in Kevin Durant, they unlocked something that we couldn't really beat. The only way you was going to have any shot at beating them was you're going to have to get Curry and KD in foul trouble. Because what we would do is, to help off other guys, we would help off Harrison Barnes and Draymond, and we would put more focus onto Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. But once that Harrison Barnes got swapped out for KD, that's one less person you can kind of hang off of, and you really got to play close. So they just put us in a weird spot, and there wasn't really much we could do. But you hear Draymond say that. And also I find it funny that Ryan Clark is letting him say everything he's saying. It doesn't seem like he's going to take this back and say, oh, LeBron was saying this because he was trying to defend his legacy against Michael Jordan. But let's keep it playing. I let it play. I want to be clear. Sometimes people say, oh, I got to hear more to get the context. Okay, we'll let it play. Let's see if Ryan Clark has that same energy when he asks Draymond that question.
He didn't come and walk to a ring. We just got that good and made it look that easy. And so then this dude got the 2 rings and they still use it against him. That's the problem with ring culture. That's what LeBron was getting at.
But what happens when you have somebody who is as great as Chuck that has bought into, right?
So even the basis of how this question is starting, this is what happens when you do everything in boxes. You put everybody in boxes, because then when people check multiple boxes, then you get stuck in these weird places. Champion versus not a champion. So if you were Pat McCraw, who won 2 chips with the Warriors and then one in Toronto, he's a champion. would you say his career is better than a Charles Barkley who's not a champion? You never would. So instead of just giving people a certain amount of props for their accomplishments, just grade people based on what they're doing in that moment, how they're speaking in that time. Because now Freddie T is going to go to Barkley and say, but Barkley has accepted it. So basically, why won't everybody just accept the fact that they didn't win a ring? Because everybody's not the same. And people have different views. And I say this is where I saw that ring culture thing getting dangerous. You look at Denver. If Jokic don't win no more rings, are we going to look at his run as a failure? If Giannis don't win no more rings, if Tatum and Jaylen Brown don't win no more rings, if the Pacers never make it back to the finals, and based on how Game 7 was going and Halliburton was playing, if they never make it back to the finals, are we going to say that we're going to call Halliburton an underachiever when they did nothing but overachieve? Nobody picked them to be there. So when you just want to lump somebody in based on one criteria, you are dismissing everything else they did. And that's the side of it that people don't want to go to. What people want to do is attack the messenger, never attack the message. Because a lot of cases, people usually agree with the message, but they don't like who's delivering it. So if they don't like who's delivering the message, they try to discredit you versus going at your points. So let's hear him. Let's hear him out on the next question. Let's see.
I have no rings. I'm a Hall of Famer, but I can only sit at this table and not over there with the likes of the Birds, the Magics, the Jordans. Like when those comments come out where he totally disagrees with LeBron's sentiment, and this is what he's bought into after all these years. Even Shaq teases him all the time, man, you ain't got no ring, Chuck. You shouldn't even be in this conversation. Kind of like cutting off the room. When we all have gone through the gauntlet to try and get there. And as great as I was in Jacksonville, and I'm just throwing it.
Hell yeah.
I'm ringless, but I don't feel that way. Like I wouldn't have that same mindset as Chuck personally. But how do you feel about?
All right, so he got his question out. Before Draymond says that, I just want to address something he said. So even if you watched NBA on TNT and you watch those guys, great show, a bunch of people watch it, won a lot of awards. Usually when Barkley is right in the argument, that's when Shaq brings out that you don't have any championship things and says you can't speak on it. Shaq does that as a defense mechanism because he's losing an argument. So nothing is absolute. So it's not like he uses it every time, but a lot of times where I've seen Shaq use that defense is when he is in the wrong and Barkley is in the right in their debate that they're having on something at that time. So I wouldn't even use that as because Charles accepts this, because Freddie T accepts this, everybody coming after them got to accept that. No, everybody's different. Everybody views it different. Everybody looks at it different, which is okay. But my issue is dropping people in boxes because then what happens when they don't measure up to the esteem that you've given them? So we're going to get to that, some of the more of that later. But let's get to Draymond's answer.
When those type of comments are kind of
Shaq
included.
got our little 4-ring handshake at the desk. It's fun picking on Chuck at the desk. I'm so honored I get the opportunity to work with those guys, man.
The best show on TV.
It's one of the honors of my life that I get to sit up there with those guys, man. But I think Chuck's able to accept it and embrace it like that because he became so great at something else. So he didn't win a championship. He's arguably the greatest sports voice we've ever seen. With what he can do with a microphone and move a world. Wow, and it come like that. I've been honored to be able to work with him and watch him work, and it's just like, boom, boom, boom. He's arguably one of the great sports voices we've ever seen. Key cog in one of the greatest, probably the greatest sports show we have ever seen. Yep. And so I think due to that, Emmy after Emmy after Emmy, I think due to that, he's able to say, fuck it. Yep, I ain't win, and look at me now. And so I think it's different for Chuck because of that.
What about?
See, I think that was a great answer by Draymond. When you have another thing that you want on to be great about, the first thing it kind of doesn't matter as much because you already slayed another dragon in another field. So, like Draymond said, you can say that's the greatest sports show of a lot of people's lifetime. When you are one of the catalysts on the greatest sports show, and the only thing people can say is, oh, when you were playing, you didn't win a ring. But look what I did now. Comment on what I'm doing now. Comment on how great I am now. And it's funny because RC was hyped when he was asking the question, and then he switched and started agreeing with Draymond once he started speaking. So I just find this funny, you know, when you have guys when it's just them three on the show and how they speak on things, and then you put a champion and 4-time champion and Draymond on the show, and he's answering. Nobody switched it to LeBron is doing this to defend himself. They had to pivot, just like the name of the show. They had to pivot to something different. When this take didn't work and we didn't get the answer we thought we was going to get, now we're going to pivot to, well, what about the people who accept this, and this? Okay. Let's see if there's anything else we need from here. Let's see what Freddie T's follow-up is.
Just his greatness, because Chuck, like, you can't argue, you know, what he did on that court. What about that part of it? Because he was better than a lot of these guys that kind of move around. Like, all right, let's say Robert Horry, for example, and I don't want Robert to catch a stray, but he got 6 of them.
Also,
seven.
Yeah. Also, too, though, Freddie T, I think, and this is just my opinion, obviously you know better than me, like when we talk about football, this conversation, it's in my opinion, the ring conversation only comes into play once you are considered an all-time great, right? We don't talk about players who are unimportant.
All right, so we got what we need from that clip. We're going to let that thing wrap up there. Moving on to the next thing. So I just find it funny that, you know, they didn't keep that same energy, RC and Channing, when they had in the presence of an NBA champion that they had when they were talking on the exact same subject. They offered no pushback. They were in agreement. So I find that kind of funny. Now we're going to get to, I've been telling y'all, like, the media likes to tell a story. So I started off slowly telling the story. We got Joy Taylor, who just was proven wrong. She was willing to die on that hill. Now we're going to get to the media trying to tell another story. A lot of people said, man, this is Kobe disrespect by even, you know, comparing him or saying they were comparing him back in the day to Tmac when it was a real thing that happened. And there was no pushback from Stephen A. when Gilbert Arenas said those things. And people felt that was just disrespectful. So if that was disrespectful, how disrespectful was it if somebody was compared to Michael Jordan and they had no championships at the time they were compared to Michael Jordan? This has to be the most disrespectful thing in the world, right? Let's get to it. This is a short.
Clyde the Glide says we're the two best in the game, but I'm not getting into a war of words. But
hold on, let me get this adjusted for y'all so we can get this thing looking better. This is here. Let me make this a little bit better for y'all. Let's do this. I can always adjust it afterwards. All right, that's better.
Mike.
Clyde was a threat. You know, I'm not saying he wasn't a threat, but me being compared to him, I took offense to that.
I'm working for NBC. I'm covering the finals. So the night before game one, we were at Michael's house playing cards, and he said, you know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm gonna give it to this dude.
All right. So this is what I'm saying. I keep going back to the media has a desire to tell a story. I can't play more of that. That is from The Last Dance. That's episode 5. There is actually a part in there where the announcers, before the game, while the guys are still in the layup lines, they're going to say, yeah, if you just look on paper, you can't really tell the difference. Their stats look pretty comparable. They kind of look the same. That's what they're going to say. They are saying it's very similar. Clyde Drexler and Michael Jordan. That's the exact same comparison they were having with Kobe Bryant with 3 rings and Tracy McGrady with no rings. So that's one of the main things that Gil said that people did not hear. He said the media was having this conversation. And all that vitriol, all that anger, all that everything, backlash, all that controversy that came from it went at Gil. Oh, you never won. You never got a ring. You never this. You never made. So I told you what the media was doing, and you attacked me. I'm going to say it again. People attack the messenger, not the message. A lot of times when people can't attack your argument, they go right to attack you personally. And we're going to see this. And the people that's crashing out about this, they're not attacking the right people. I said it last week, and I posted up a clip on my TikTok, and somebody was like, oh, well, you know, I was saying ring culture didn't start now. I said it started before. People just want to act like they put it on LeBron that it started. So I played the clip of Stephen A. Smith talking about how Jordan felt like him getting all these endorsements, the way he was portrayed, he should have a ring to go with that. Somebody said water's wet. And I said, okay. Sometimes people don't want to go at your point that you're making. My point was very clear. This started before LeBron went to Miami, and it was proven based on what Stephen A. said. So a lot of times, I called it willful ignorance when I was talking about Ryan Clark last week. He was being willfully ignorant when he was speaking on the subject. I think two things are happening. I think people like to debate so much that the first thing they do is question what you say without doing any research into what you say, which happened a lot with Gil. And they just want to argue. And I'm not the arguing type. Like I said earlier, I'm just going to state my opinion of how I feel about something, how I view it, and then you can feel however you want to feel about what I say, which is okay. So it is what it is. What we got next? All right, so we're going to get to Swaggy P. Swaggy P is going to snap. He's going to snap. And when he snaps, he still doesn't attack nothing Gil was saying. But first, actually, I think we got Ron Artest first. I think we'll get to Ron Artest first. Let's see. We got Ron Artest first. Let me check out how I got this set up.
Yeah, it was a point in time.
Yes, we got Ron Artest first. So, again, somebody in my comments was saying they weren't comparing them. Okay. I wasn't in the league. I remember the comparisons. I remember it being a thing. Let's hear from players who were in the league at that time. Let's hear from somebody. I even told people, Ron Artest said this. Ron Artest played with Tmac. He played with Kobe. He played with both of them. Let's listen to what he said. Because what people want to do is they want to do the Joy Taylor. They want to change the narrative. They want to look at things based on when they noticed it, not what was happening before they noticed it. So let's go. Here is, actually, I'm sorry. This is Metta World Peace. Metta World Peace.
That's what you're talking about. He's talking about that time. It was a point in time where Tmac was like, we were saying it. It was like a point in time where everybody was like, oh, who's better? It was a point in time like for 2 or 3 years. That was the conversation. Then Kobe. Everybody thought I was.
Hold on. What did he just say? Let's rewind that back. Because people were saying that this was made up. People were saying this never happened. Let's go back.
Yeah, it was a point in time where Tmac. That's what you're talking about. He's talking about that time. It was a point in time where Tmac was like, we were saying it. It was like a point in time where everybody was like, oh, who's better? It was a point in time like for 2 or 3 years. That was the conversation. Then Kobe. Everybody thought I was stupid. Never got out the first round. When he's not, dog, what are y'all talking?
So you see, as soon as Nick didn't like what was said, he went to attack Tmac. He never addressed nothing Metta World Peace said. Metta World Peace said for 3 years it was a conversation that people were having. 3 years. What did Nick Young do? Nick Young said he never made out the first round. Stay on point. Stay on point. Attack the points or just chill and relax. But you don't got to do both. You don't got to crash out because you don't agree. Crashing out because you don't agree just shows me you can't attack what this person said. You can't attack it. Let's see. I think Gil's going to kind of give it to him a little bit here.
We get the Orlando
niggas, but he said if you take me and put me in there, I can average 22 and win the championship. That's what he's saying.
I don't know.
Kobe was averaging 30. Like, Kobe was averaging 28, 20.
Yeah, 20. The first year he averaged 22. But what he's saying, if you just put me in there and I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm the second option and I'm playing my role, shit, we can win a championship. What makes me not win a championship?
Well, you know,
He's
Shaq
not saying he's going to be there and do that. He's just saying, you put me there. Everybody say the same shit. Well, if you sub me with motherfucking Derek Fisher, nigga, I can win a championship with that.
We don't know that.
Yeah, we do.
See? So this is willful ignorance. They're given new information. And after this, they're going to go to how old they were at the time this was happening. Because I think that's another part of this. The younger generation is so used to the debate style that they forget that in a true debate, sometimes you concede because the other person got you. And people act like that doesn't exist. So I'll give you an example about me. I posted something on TikTok. I interpreted what the person said wrong. The person was agreeing with me, and I thought they were disagreeing with me. They said, nah, I was agreeing with you. And I said, my bad. That's me conceding I read this wrong. I interpreted what you said wrong. And some people cannot do that. So they rather crash out. They rather not attack your argument. They rather attack you personally. They rather go with you when they got the evidence. Let's do this. And I'm really trying to drive this home. I'm really trying to make sure that people are getting this. We're going to go to Metta World Peace one more time. One more time. We're going to make this really clear about what he's saying.
It was a point in time where
That's what
Tmac.
he's talking about. He's talking about that time.
It was a point in time where Tmac was like, we were saying it. It was like a point in time where everybody was like, oh, who's better? It was a point in time like for 2 or 3 years. That was the conversation. Then Kobe,
everybody thought I was stupid. Never got out the first round. He's not. Dog, what are y'all?
So you see, I played that so many times on purpose. I wanted people to hear it from somebody who played with and against both of the guys that they're talking about and was in the league and was also known as a high-level defender. I can't take Nick's emotion or Brandon Jennings' emotion over somebody who was there. This is when you got to either concede or have a better argument. They don't have a better argument, so now they just crashing out. So let's move forward to when he actually crashes out. Actually, this is not the right spot. I got so many things. Let's get this. Let's find a spot where Nick just starts to crash out, and Metta World Peace is just gonna sit there and look at him. Kenyon Martin is just sitting there looking at him. I think this is when he's about to crash out.
It's amazing these days, right? These niggas are stupid. Rather argue like instead of listening.
You niggas will always think y'all right. You're not right. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with you. I don't have to agree with you. I don't give a fuck what y'all. I don't have to agree.
What is your take?
We don't get it wrong.
Fucking know you are wrong. You know stupid. We're damn. We're game playing.
Niggas act like I gotta agree with you, motherfucker.
At this point, we realize Swaggy knew he took the L. Gilbert is going to give us some chances. He's going to give us some outs. He's going to... Swaggy's saying y'all wrong because he doesn't have a clear understanding of what happened. And he doesn't have anything to come back with. And you know how we know that? Because Gil's going to ask him, okay, what happened?
You're not right. Shut that shit up. That's thinking on my nerves.
In 2002, from 2002, can you tell us?
Thank you. You niggas don't have, y'all not right. Let's go.
We're not right, and we were there, and we're game planning, we're talking, we're guarding these two men. We're not right.
I know, he bust y'all.
Now you tell us what was being said. How about this? What was being said in 2002 then? Since we're wrong, tell us what was being said in 2002.
I don't know. I was a Kobe fan.
Shut the fuck up.
I was a Kobe fan.
I don't give a fuck what you're talking about. If you can't get no championship.
That's going to be an L. Actually, that's it. We got it. So you did all this arguing. You did all this crashing out. When he brought it to you and said, what was being said in 2002, you say, I don't know? Now, earlier, I said, people believe that a championship puts you on a higher level of understanding. Swaggy P has a championship. Brandon Jennings don't have a championship. Gilbert Arenas don't have a championship. Kenyon Martin don't have a championship. Metta World Peace has a championship. So those two, if we, based on how people like to do stuff, this is not me, this is other people. Based on how people like to do stuff, they say, well, those two, their voices mean the most. They're the ones who get to sit at the I have a championship table. And then we have situations like this, where he's asking him a very clear question that Nick Young disagrees with, and he can't articulate what was happening. He's just telling them that they're wrong. So then when you have a situation, Metta World Peace, Nick Young, both champions. Whose opinion or whose view holds more weight? See, when you start putting people in these situations where you elevate them because of a team accomplishment, you are also trying to, a lot of people, they elevate their viewpoint. And I'm doing this for a reason. I'm telling y'all this for a reason, because later on, people are going to try to use that same argument and say, you can't speak on this because you don't have a championship. But then when we let you speak on it, this is what you say. This is the argument you make. And we're supposed to give this even time of day to listen to it because he has a championship? No. Do you have, remember, this is a different arena. We're not talking about X's and O's on the court. We're not talking about shooting jumpers, playing defense, switches. We ain't talking about that. This is the media portion. Where's your media championship? Where's your media Emmy? If nothing else you can take away from the guys on TNT, they got Emmys. One of the longest running sports shows. They got the awards in this arena. Even though it's stuff they say I disagree with, but we got to stop. People just take the easy way out and say, this person is the champion. We got to believe what they say. Because then when they talk, they do something like this. This is crazy. This is crazy. Just a complete crash out with no rebuttal. Never attacking the argument. Attacking the messenger, never the message. But he's a champion, right? So he's right. Okay. Let's get to the next one. Draymond Green.
One last thing we need to talk about.
Now, this is going to be a longer clip. I am going to have to pause it. I am going to have to give my views on it as it's happening. And then, while this is happening, I did something that I don't think kind of anybody really did. I actually pulled up these lists that they're talking about. I pulled up the list that Gilbert is talking about. I pulled up the people who voted for that list that Gilbert is talking about. I did that. I think a lot of people speaking on this never did that. So if you notice, how come the media is not attacking Gilbert about this? How come it's only current and former players crashing out about this? Why the media is not attacking it? Because this is highlighting how the media falls short. So if they say something back, he can come back with facts against them. So that's why the media is not responding to it. But they got the players being crash outs for him, so it don't matter. So let's get to it.
It involves you, Gil. So you were on First Take last week.
I'm going to speed this up a little bit. We're going to go 1.25. All right, let's get it. Shout out to Josiah. He's merely a host.
Had some lengthy discussions about ring culture. Well, Draymond Green appeared to disagree with your comments about ring culture last week on First Take. You said that rings of players who were second options are not held in the same regard as those who were first options on championship teams. So Draymond went on Threads and posted the following. He said, a bunch of non-champions having championship conversations. This world we live in is crazy.
So that's that situation going back to attacking the person. That's going to be an L. Attack his argument, Nobody wants to attack the argument. Everybody crashing out. Nobody attacking the argument. So I'm just going to read this. Draymond Green, a bunch of non-champions having championship conversations. This world we live in is crazy. So taking shots, personal shots, no attacking the argument. So this is Gilbert Arenas. You should thank us for the combo so second options and thirds get a fair judgment. Clay with 4 rings left off the top 75. Pippen has 6 rings, sits at 32 all the time. 6 people in front of him with no rings. Why not mine? He said, why? Not my opinion. It's my research that exposed they don't respect second option rings. Do you think Draymond is going to come back? This is insight. Do you think Clay took exception to being left off the top 75 for people who don't have rings? Remember, Clay and Steph was the catalyst for that run. Remember, before Clay was facing the injuries, he was like the number 1 two-way player. He was always guarding the other team's best guy. And you think he don't take exception to not being on that top 75? He does. But Draymond's not going to address that.
As to which, Gil, you responded. You said, you should thank us for the convo. So my research that exposed they don't respect second option rings. So
Come at my friend like that?
I'm not coming at him. What am I coming at? We're not done. That's just the first part.
Right.
Draymond did offer a response. He quite frankly responded back with the following.
So this is Draymond's response. There would never be a reason for me to thank y'all about anything involving the game of basketball. There's also nothing you guys can say or topic y'all can cover that can change anything for me when it comes to the game of basketball or NBA. Only someone who has never been a champion would think that's a conversation that would ever matter. Your research was just missing one key perspective. A champion that understands what it means and takes to do so. It's just a tad bit flawed. Again, Draymond never attacked his argument. Gil's argument is, for everybody who seems to not understand this, why do NBA writers, voters, who voted on the top 75 all-time players list not value guys' championship rings? That's what he's saying. Draymond, your teammate, former teammate, Klay Thompson, he ended up just missing the list. And you know who got in ahead of him? Dame Lillard with no rings. You don't think your teammate took exception to that? Yes. This is where when you don't attack what the person is saying, there's some validity to what the person is saying. Now, we watched Draymond give very eloquent answers to when it was asked about the ring culture and what LeBron was trying to say. We watched Draymond go into why Charles Barkley accept the fact that he don't have a championship because he's won in other areas and been great in other areas. But in this instance, we're watching Draymond crash out. And what I'm calling a crash out is when you continuously respond and never attack the person's argument. That's a crash out in my book because you're better off not answering, not responding. Oh, it's nothing you can offer to me. Okay, Draymond. This is why, me personally, I don't attach 100% or I don't grant 100% belief in a person's view, and I don't put anybody at 0. So I believe people have times where they can say something that's valuable to you, and they can have times where they say something that's no value to you. I'll give you an example about Gil's Arena. Most of the time, I don't agree with McCants. I believe McCants is playing a role on the show to antagonize and question and to be a contrarian. When Gilbert wasn't on the show, Norris Cole was on the show, McCants didn't do that. McCants was actually attacking Norris Cole's points. So I saw that he has the ability to not be that way. He chooses to be that way. You see how in most cases I can disagree with him, and then in a case I can agree with him? So I don't just stand on 100% of what nobody says. But let's keep this thing moving forward.
You said there would never be a reason a champion would think that
something's wrong with y'all.
So Draymond missed it there. So let's keep adding people to the list who are missing what he's saying. Not all the Kobe fans. A lot of Kobe fans are missing what he said. Draymond Green is missing what he said. Nick Young is missing what he said. McCants on this episode is going to miss what he's saying. Brandon Jennings is missing what he's saying. Let's hear it.
Okay, here you go. Here you go.
The problem is, I say research, you say personal. I'm pretty sure the conversation between them when Clay didn't make it, and they're sitting there asking why and crying and doing all this, someone goes and does the research for you and then gives you the answer. And then you attack the researcher. If you think there's something off about what I'm saying, then you answer the question. Why do you think Clay, at the moment of time when they're voting, has 3 rings, he has 2 All-NBAs, and he has 5 All-Stars? Why would that man be left off the top 75 for number 75, who has 6 All-NBAs and 6 All-Stars? You would think the 3 championships will push him over the top. So if you don't like my fucking research and my answer, then you answer it. And please don't say, I don't care. Come up with an educated answer.
That's where people they're not going. They're not coming up with an educated answer. They're not coming up with a response. They're not coming up with a rebuttal. That's why I told you I don't debate people, because they don't have an answer. They just don't like what you're saying. Nick Young proved it. He just didn't like what Gilbert was saying. Brandon Jennings didn't like what he was saying. Draymond Green didn't like what he said. But I'll tell you what most people haven't done. Most people haven't actually pulled up the list. Most people haven't actually looked at it. Once you look at it, it's very clear how they weighted things and how Gilbert is breaking it down. It's very clear. Let's let this game keep going.
32 is Pippen. In front of Pippen.
Let's pause them. Let's do this. Let's pull the list up. Let's get the list up. So instead of me just having y'all take Gilbert's word on it, let's actually pull the list up. Let's see. Check out some stuff. We don't need that. So remember, he said Klay Thompson was left off the list for Damian Lillard. So this is the list right here. They got Bill Russell when they're showing the list. And let me make this look a little bit better for y'all. Let's put this over here like this so y'all can see, because they kind of have it tailored to the right. All right, so let's look at the list. So we need to look at number. So they did have a tie. So this person right here, Bill Sharman, it was a tie. So they actually added a 76 player to the list. But what he's talking about is Dame Lillard, because Dame Lillard was a cutoff at 75. So this is 75. This is Dame Lillard. So when he addressed Draymond, he said specifically, I know y'all were asking why in that locker room was Klay left off this list for the top 75 and being left off for Dame Lillard, who doesn't have any championships. Those championships should have put him higher. Nobody wants to answer that question. Nobody even wants to address it. I have an idea. Why the media values all NBAs, MVPs higher than championships if you weren't the star player. And the reason why I believe they view it higher is because, one, they have an input in it because they actually vote on it. And two, when they made this list, they basically stripped away team accomplishments. And they went to individual accomplishments like MVPs. And they went to all NBAs. But I'm going to tell y'all something. To me, and just think about the last 10 years. To me, it seems like the MVP award is always a year behind. They're always trailing a year. Let's do this. Let's see. Let's just not talk about it. So we're going to pull up the MVPs for the last 10 years. So we know that it was Shea this year. Shea could have easily won last year. It was Jokic last year. Actually, Jokic won back-to-back years. Shea could have won last year. Jokic could have won this year if he would have won last year, but they had to give it to Shea. They was a year behind. Steph Curry won in 2022. Giannis won those 3 in a row. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry. So, or James Harden was in there too. To me, the media gets fatigued with who they vote on. And then they're also, to me, they always seem like a year behind when they're voting for guys. And another reason why I say they get fatigued is because Shaq only has 1 MVP. Kobe has 1 MVP. LeBron has 4 MVPs. There's no way you telling me LeBron wasn't the best player in the NBA. Was only the best player in the NBA 4 years. There's no way you telling me Kobe wasn't the best player in the NBA more than 1 year. Shaq wasn't the best player in the NBA more than 1 year. It's no way. It's no way you telling me this stuff. But this is who y'all want me to believe. I remember Karl Malone won the award over Michael Jordan. Come on, man. We know. Like, we know this is the human element of these awards. It's the human element. And we're gonna take this even deeper. I'm gonna riff a little bit, but let me show y'all more of the human element with these awards. So remember, they value the awards that they control. So the media writes the stories or spread the narratives. They control who gets the MVPs. They control the all NBAs. And then they determine if guys are successful or not. When they do the top 75, they take off, they devalue the team awards and go to the stuff that they vote on to show more power and control. But nobody's thinking about the human element. Let's look at the human element. Why am I bringing up the human element? People have short memories, but I remember key things. Do y'all remember when Jalen Rose voted for Kyrie Irving when he only played in 29 games? Jalen Rose did. Voted for Kyrie. Basically took a vote from Trae Young. And his answer was, I get mesmerized by his talent. He could have cost Trae Young money because he was mesmerized by Kyrie's talent and not voted for Trae Young when he clearly had a better year, played more games. That's the human element into this. People leaving the human element out. So then this is what he said. I'm going to read his full quote. This is what he said on ESPN. I need to fall on the sword because I'm the lone person that voted Kyrie Irving third team All-NBA. Kyrie only played 29 games that year. I get mesmerized by his talent, but it was a mistake to put him on the third team, and I'm glad that didn't cost Trae Young his spot, who deserved it more. So I'm going to own that. He's going to own it. But when we go down in the legacy, you know what people are going to say? They're just going to say, oh, man, Trae Young, you know, he should have been anonymous. It wasn't anonymous when he was voted for the All-NBA. That could have cost Trae Young $8 million a year on his contract, where his contract, because he still made the All-NBA team, his contract went from 27 to 35. So that's $8 million because somebody is mesmerized by a person's talent who's only playing 29 games. That's the human element. I'll give you all another time. It's more than one time. 2020. Now this turned into something completely different, but it was a mistake. Maria Taylor. She's on NBC. She's coming back to the NBA coverage. Let's get this set for y'all. Let's make it look a little bit better. Okay, so this is 2020. She was voting for the All-NBA teams. She was the only voter who didn't vote for Anthony Davis to make an All-NBA team. She was the only one who didn't vote. He got 99 out of 100 votes to make one of the 3 All-NBA teams, or actually first or second team. She said it was a mistake, but that's the human element. So it's elements to this story that nobody wants to talk about. We can go back. We can look at the writers. If the writers didn't like a guy in the NFL, they would penalize you when it came time for you to go into the Hall of Fame. T.O. should have been the first ballot Hall of Famer. He wasn't. Why? The way the media viewed him. Not based on what he did on the court. Not based on what he did on the field. So it's the human element that people are not talking about. So when people just say, oh, why we listen to them? Why does we don't care about them. Their credibility doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter because they have the power now in the NBA. They have the power to determine if you can get a max or a super max contract. So they definitely had a power. So you can say, oh, we don't. They are ingrained in this process. If 20 years from now, y'all going to be counting MVPs and how many MVPs a person got, how can you say that what they say or do doesn't matter when it impacts people's legacy? People's legacy are on the line with this. Clay is a made man etched in stone if he's on the top 75 list. His legacy is attached to that. Let's look at the next one because that was Damian Lillard. Let's go down the list. He said Michael Jordan. Anthony Davis made the list. Anthony Davis, champion, when they did this, he's number 71. 2 ahead of him. Carmelo, no championships. Russ, no championships. Paul Pierce got a championship. Let's go to, we got to make it to Scotty because that's who he's talking about next. Reggie Miller, no championships. Gary Payton got one. He got his in Miami. Patrick Ewing, no championships. Steve Nash, no championships, number 37. Scottie Pippen. Remember, Gilbert was just saying, Scottie Pippen's number 32. He's 32 on the list. This number 32. Fun fact, Scottie Pippen is my favorite player of all time. I got a bunch of Scottie Pippen basketball cards. I got Scottie Pippen shoes. This is my favorite player of all time. Favorite player. But look who's directly ahead of him. Allen Iverson. Scottie Pippen has 6 championships. It's funny because I said to somebody, they said, oh man, Shaq didn't win no rings without Kobe, so Kobe's the GOAT. I said, what does that make Scottie Pippen? MJ didn't win no rings without Scottie. And they said a good player. That's why I don't debate with people. They don't even hold to the logic of it. Iverson is ahead of Scottie Pippen, like he's saying. You see it here, right? Scottie's 32. He was a vital person when it came to them winning championships. Allen Iverson's ahead of him. Dwayne Wade has 3. Look who's directly ahead of Dwayne Wade. Chris Paul. No championships. So when Gilbert is saying, attack the research I did, this is what he's saying. Nobody wants to attack it. Because then you really got to call out the right people. So I was saying people are blaming on LeBron this ring culture stuff. And I said, nah, it's not LeBron. I said this before then. I said, y'all not blaming the right person. You're not blaming the right people. I think the media has way more to do with this. And people are just letting them off scot-free like they hand out in the cookie jar. Let's get back to Gil. I just wanted to show y'all the list. Let me close some of this stuff out that I don't need. I just wanted to show y'all the list that Gilbert is going to. So I know a lot of people are not pulling this list up. And a lot of people are not thinking about the human element. Let's get this back on the screen so y'all can see it. We got Gil back. Let's see what he says next. And then we got the list there so we can always, go back to the list.
It's Allen Iverson. So come up with an answer that you can help the public. It has nothing to do with your feelings. Because I seen the answer. I seen when the Isaiah Thomas statement that Isaiah made when he basically said something about KD, where KD basically saved y'all careers and made y'all Hall of Famers, but he gets disrespected, but he saved y'all. Like I seen that interview. which is neither here nor there. I did the research, and all I'm saying is they, not me, bitch, this is not my personal opinion. They, from the research, seems like they don't give two shits about second option rings. They're not valuing Scottie Pippen's 6 and 0 and Jordan's 6 and 0. They're not putting Kobe's 5 rings next to Derek Fisher's 5 rings. They're not, whatsoever, right? That's not me saying this personally, right? The people who are voting for you, they never won a championship. And if I ask you right now and say, what is harder to do?
Actually, that was a mic drop right there where he said the people voting for you, they never won a championship. Because it's the writers. I even looked into it. It's about 100 people. They added 101. They have the 101 is the fans actually get one vote that counts in there. But it's 100 other writers, former players, people who actually cover the media. I think what people should go for is we want to see the official list of who's doing the voting. Even if it comes out later, if you say, okay, we're going to do it delayed. So in 2 years, we'll release who voted 2 years ago and how they voted. And then look it up as a track record and see who did it for transparency's sake. Because I don't like institutions that hide behind things pertaining to people's legacy and nobody knows who, what, when, where. We only know when it's insane. We know when Jalen Rose bit the bullet and said, hey, that was me that voted for Kyrie. We know when Maria Taylor bites the bullet and says, hey, it was a mistake that I didn't vote for AD. But it's other times where stuff is closed or stuff is off and we don't know. So even if they come out with it late, it could be delayed. It could be 2 years later where you release it and release, you know what I'm saying? Or we should know who actually has a vote. I don't like when, basically that's protecting the people who can make or break somebody's legacy, which is crazy. Everybody should want that transparency. Everybody should. Let's go back to what Gil just said, where another thing that people, when he was telling people to list, a lot of people, John Stockton's 24, Karl Malone's 23, no rings. Scottie got 6 of them. Scottie was on the team to beat them twice in the finals. Barkley, 22, no rings. KG, he got a ring. Jerry West got a ring. Giannis got a ring. Dirk got a ring. Steph got rings. Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Hakeem got 2. Durant got 2. But then you got Shaq. Shaq has 4. Wait. I don't know why that switched. My bad, y'all. Shaq has 4, but Shaq is number 11 on the list. Kobe is number 10 on the list, and Kobe has 5. So what a lot of people did was, a lot of people said, I'm just devaluing this because I don't agree with it. But no, you should expose it so we get answers how this happened. A lot, when they ask players, no players got Kobe ranked 10. Players have Kobe ranked higher. Kobe's ranked 10 on this list. 5 championships. Oscar Robertson before him. Tim Duncan, Larry Bird, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Magic, Kareem, LeBron, MJ. If you ask players to do this exact same thing, active players, or you can't really do active players, they too young, they don't know most of these guys. But if you took players who are the age 35 and up, and you said, vote on this list, and they'll give you the pool, and you said, vote on this list, do you think they would have Kobe and Shaq on the outskirts of the top 10, 10 and 11? Do you think they would have them there? I don't think so. I think they would have them higher. So just writing it off and not addressing it just lets these people get away with this and keep doing it. So then what do you think is going to happen when it's the 100-year anniversary and they do the top 100 players? You put the scrutiny on it now that y'all got to put some weight to the championships. You can change how this happens next time. That's what people don't think about. I always say it's visionaries and it's people that got to wait till it happens. But you got to do the work to change before it's done. We can't change the top 75, but you can potentially change how they view the top 100 when it's the 100-year anniversary and they doing that list. That's what you should be shooting for. That's why Gilbert is saying, I'm helping you by exposing this. And Draymond is not addressing this point, just saying, oh, man, it don't matter what you say. Okay, Klay don't make the top 100. So let's get back to Gil. But this is the list he's talking about. Also, another thing I'm going to show. I don't think people are talking about who actually voted on this list. So, what we got going on here? Locked it back up. Gotta make this a tad bit smaller so it'll be on the screen. There we go. So they have everybody who voted on this list. And I'll read some of the names so y'all can see that, you know, they had some players and they had some media. So I'm going to read some of the people that y'all would know. So Sue Bird, Mike Breen, Doris Burke, Jerry Colangelo, Doug Collins, Cynthia Cooper. Giannis actually was voting on the panel. Charles Barkley, Rick Barry. Let's go to the next row of people. Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, Clyde Drexler, Julius Erving, Patrick Ewing, Walt Frazier, George Gervin, Becky Hammond, Elvin Hayes, Ernie Johnson, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr, Lisa Leslie, Nancy Lieberman, Zach Lowe, Earl the Pearl Monroe, Steve Nash, Rachel Nichols, Dirk Nowitzki, Shaq, Robert Parrish, Candace Parker, Chris Paul, Scottie Pippen, Greg Popovich, Amar Rashad, Willis Reed, Pat Riley, Oscar Robertson, David Robinson, Bill Russell, Bill Simmons, Sam Smith, Stephen A., Mark Spears, Eric Spoelstra, John Stockton, Hannah Storm, Cheryl Swoops, Isaiah Thomas, Rudy Tomjanovich, Peter Vesky, Bill Walton, Jerry West, Michael Wilbon, Lenny Wilkins, James Worthy. So it's players on there. It's people in the media on there. When Gil was saying, question it, attack it, you can go ask the questions of these people. I even posted on my X account. I actually sent something to Gil like, hey, Cheryl Swoops was one of the people who was on the, she was one of the people who was on his list. And I sent it to Gil like, hey, next time she's on the show, why don't you ever talk about it? Why don't you ever break down how it went when they were doing this voting for this? You know, dig deeper, ask the questions. See, I'm the person that's willing to do the research, willing to dig deeper, willing to ask questions. So now let's get back to Gil. Where we at? We got Gil. We got Gil here. Let's get Gil playing again. Let's see what we talking about, Gil.
Win an MVP or win a championship? What would you say?
Probably harder to win that.
That's when he's going to say, is it harder to win an MVP or a championship? He just used it mathematically. Mathematically, it's harder to win an MVP. That's very easy. It sounds like winning a championship is harder, but it's 1 versus 450 guys in the NBA versus one team versus 29 other teams. So he just used the math. That's all he used right there. Let's see what McCann's got to say. McCann's ain't been talking.
MVPs. You say, oh, I got team wins. I got a championship.
Rashad, please jump in. Gil's taking a pause.
What we play the game for?
Man, niggas is winners. I don't know what y'all
What do we play the game of basketball?
What's
his name?
Cry when we lose?
Aiden Naismith. Mr. Aiden Naismith. Right, we created this game called basketball.
James Naismith?
James.
I thought you were saying Aaron Naismith.
No.
James Naismith?
I just called him A. Smith.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, the game, the essence, man, the thing we grew up so passionately to be around was a team game. I think the top 50 may have fucked it up because they gave an indicator of where you should strive to try to be the top 50 players of all time. They all got jackets and shit. And you introduce top 75, and then it just becomes not about team at all. Like we have sprouted seeds.
Because they can't win.
We sprouted seeds in the youth to make it now. Like
Can't win.
your resume is stronger than the team, and the team is what's gonna make your resume.
No, it's the opposite.
Why Karl Malone and John Stockton and all those guys?
See, they don't want to answer that.
Why are they what? Why
Why they in the top 50? And
nobody cares about those lists.
See, they go to nobody cares about those lists, but that's the legit question. So let's go back to the list. See, the easy way out is to just say nobody cares. But remember, you can say nobody cares, but they're determining people's legacies. They're determining if people can sign a supermax contract. And you just to say you don't care, that's not attacking the argument. Let's look at who Malone and Stockton are in front of who have championships. So right here, they got them back to back, 23-24. Let's see how far we got to go to get to the first champion. Not far. David Robinson, right behind them. Isaiah Thomas, couple behind them. Dwayne Wade, behind them. Scottie Pippen, who beat them twice in the finals, behind them. Kawhi, behind them. So you ask the question to protect or help the next 25 when they do the top 100. People don't even know how often they do this. They do this. They did it at the 50 year. They did 75 year. The next one's going to be 100. They're going to do the top 100. So ask the question. If you're going to say the people don't matter, then I just have to say that's willful ignorance, because these people are controlling people's pockets. They are controlling people's all NBAs. They are controlling who wins the MVP. And there's also a human element to it. So just to disregard it, you're not thinking the bigger picture of this. Let's see what else McCann's got to say.
That's not a.
Y'all making the list. Y'all making the list about basketball. It's not basketball. The essence of basketball is not making the top 75. Winning championships.
Hold on.
See? He said it's not about making the top 75s, but winning championships. The same people voting on the top 75, they determine your pockets now. This is why if you just don't understand how far or how deep something goes, don't speak on it. Sit there quiet. You don't got to just keep speaking when you don't even know what you're speaking on. Probably never looked at the list. Probably never looked at who the voters are. It's a lot of writers on there. If you don't know the list, you can just easily disregard it. If you don't know that these people vote on NBA awards, you can easily disregard it. Then in 2 weeks, they're going to be having an argument about all NBAs. If you watched the show before, Gil's Arena, have you ever heard them argue all NBAs? Have you ever heard Rashad when he used to say stat man, when he used to call Gil that? And you know why he stopped saying it? Because Gil started pressing him about Kobe stats. He started pressing about Kobe awards, all NBAs. And then that's why he stopped calling him stat man. Because then he had to start using stats to make his arguments. Y'all have heard them argue about this before. They just doing the surface level. That's why eventually Gilbert Arenas is going to crash out. So let's keep it going.
Hold on.
Winning.
Can we?
The game, at the end of the game, I got more points than you.
Let's remove our emotions and talk like experts.
Win.
When we talk about experts,
we all don't get the same award when we win. It's only a certain person. It's only the first person.
The only reward you get is the win.
So I get a win.
What are you talking about?
So I get a win. I'm a part of something in this ring, and I'm over here still, and I'm looking at.
You're a winner. Is that not enough?
No.
So y'all gotta go play some other shit. You want to win in some other shit, feel more appreciated.
This is your personal feelings.
Win.
This is your.
When we walk away as winners, we're like, yo, I was an NCAA champion. I cut down the net. No one can ever take that away from me. I don't have to have made no money. I ain't have to make no record book appearance. I ain't had to score the most points. Man, I remember that day. That day gonna live forever.
That's your personal feeling. Then when someone
think that's what Draymond is talking about too.
We're not talking about. I'm talking about research. You're pretending like I'm coming up with this. You're acting like I'm one of the 100 voters that voted for the criteria. I just do the research that shows you.
Talk about
So let's see. Remember when I said they never looked at the list? Nick Young said, "How could they, who never won, talk about winning?" Let's pull up who actually voted on this list. And let's see if we can find any champions on this list who actually voted. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, champion. Giannis, champion. Let's keep going. Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, Clyde Drexler, Julius Erving, George Gervin, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr, Dirk Nowitzki, Shaq, Candace Parker, Scottie Pippen, Greg Popovich, Willis Reed, Pat Riley, Oscar Robertson, David Robinson, Bill Russell, Eric Spoelstra, Cheryl Swoops, Bill Walton, Jerry West, James Worthy. Look at how many names we just named. When people are not willing to do the research to even articulate and have an adult conversation with you about what they're speaking on, right there, Nick Young is factually incorrect. That's an L. Let's get back to it. See, the information is here. This is why when everybody's attacking Gil, attack his argument, they just assume. So Nick Young heard Draymond say, "Oh, it's people who hasn't won." Now, when you look at the list, and I'm reading the list of the actual voters to you, and it's people on there that won, what's your next point? Because that point was an L. Oh, we got something for you. I forgot to give it to you. That's for you, Nick Young. Let's get back to it.
Because I did the research. When I asked you a question,
it should be winners that's
when I asked you the question.
Another L. He's saying it again. It should be winners that on the list. I just read you all the champions off of there. Nick Young has a championship. Should we value what he's saying over what Gilbert Arenas is saying in this moment because he has a championship? These are questions you got to ask people. Because people just want to say, "Oh, Gilbert's saying this because he never won." We present our case. Who is making a winning argument and who's making a losing argument between Gilbert Arenas and Nick Young right now? Is the champion making the championship case? No. The champion is taking L's left and right. Left and right.
They should change the whole list and let winners do the whole list.
There's NBA players that actually vote. I come up with something, and I say, hey.
So that means all the voters should be winners. All the voters should be winners.
How many L's do they want to take tonight?
You don't know what it feels like.
Okay, hold on. No.
I mean, the list will be different.
Can you read? Can you read?
So Robert Ory.
Can you read so we can all
Winning
witness?
championships matter, man. Winning matters.
I didn't say it didn't.
It's what we played the game for.
Why are we talking about?
No. I want everybody to hold that.
And people want to say that these guys are winning arguments against Gil. They are arguing blindly. This is willful ignorance. They don't know what they're talking about. They're wrong in this instance. It's also right that Nick Young is a champion, and it's also right that Gilbert is not. But Gilbert is right in this instance. They are wrong.
That thought.
Why niggas feel bad
Hold
for
on.
Tyrese?
I want everybody.
Game 7.
I want you to see y'all.
So top 75.
Okay, no. So listen.
Uh-oh.
So when we say Klay in his 3 rings is Klay Thompson, and he didn't make the top 75. Tell me who the fuck the voters are.
So the NBA 75th anniversary team was selected by a panel of 88 people, including current and former players, coaches, general managers.
You said current and what?
Current and former players.
Current and formal. Okay.
Coaches, general managers, team and league executives, WNBA legends, sports writers, and broadcasters. So some of this list included Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tim Duncan, Bill Russell, Julius Erving, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and many more.
Many more.
And there, my friends, we got to give them another one. When you were just arguing to argue, this is why I don't debate people. He has no idea what he's talking about. And then McCants jumped on the bandwagon and joined Nick Young because he decided, I want to take these L's with you.
So those guys, hold on, those guys who are voting as winners, as champions, as top 5, somehow left a guy who has 3 rings off, and you acting like Mike. I'm doing something fucked up.
Well,
I'm reading.
Klay Thompson is sitting back, and he's like, man, 75 or not.
Listen to.
Remember earlier, I said, you got to know when to just concede. At this moment, if this was a debate, once they were presented with new information that proved their points wrong, Nick and McCants should have conceded. As Brandon Jennings got more information, he got quieter and quieter. Quieter and quieter. He started taking a step back like, dang, they about to take this L and keep taking this L. That's why eventually Gil has a hard crash out in this episode.
I got 3 chips and a lot of money dipped in all kind of shit.
Hold on. Listen to what y'all said. Remove yourself. The man with 3 rings, and we're saying they matter, and then his peers. At the time, it was 3. My research, 3, 2 and 5 at the time. His voters are other champions, dog. That's voting. They voted. Not me, nigga. They voted. Say the name again so we can see who we can blame for it. Not who
Is it possible that the voters didn't vote for who they like because they don't like the nigga?
Okay, now.
McCants. 10 minutes ago, you said the voters don't matter when you didn't know who the voters was. Now, when you learn that the voters are champions, now you bring something that's not quantifiable. So if you've been watching me for a couple of weeks, you've been listening to me on the podcast format. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Help me get to my goal that I'm trying to get to by kickoff of the first Browns game. If you hear this clip on TikTok, make sure you follow me on TikTok so you help me get to my goal by the first kickoff of the first Browns game. If you've been listening to me, one thing I always say is when a person introduces into a debate something that you can't quantify, I immediately realize they recognize they lost. McCants just said, well, is it possible that people didn't like the people who they were voting for? Something that you can't quantify. This is very simple. Go off what is. You have the list of the 75 players. You have the list of who voted on these things. Go off of what is. Introducing these things that you can't quantify because you keep taking these L's, it's just making you look worse. You weren't prepared for how far this was going to go. Brandon Jennings realized it. He saw it. He said, uh-oh, Gil was walking y'all down. Y'all was up 20, and y'all celebrating at half. And then at the end of the third quarter, y'all was up 10 points. And then that fourth quarter, Gil was walking y'all down, and he turned around and won the game. And y'all sitting over there stunned trying to figure out what happened. That's McCants and Nick Young. Let's play some more, because Gil was going to go full crash out.
See, now you see the excuses. Now you see the
exactly.
Vote.
So why does he have to be in somebody's list?
You just said
he's
winner.
a champion.
It's so important.
He's winner. It's not important.
Why are you offended?
So now they're saying the list is not important. Just move the goalpost when you're wrong. That's the thing to do. And people will say in the comments, they might say he's standing on business. You know what? Let's do that. Let's scroll to their comments real quick. Okay. The first comment says, one of the hardest things on this planet is to have a conversation with someone that lacks the ability to listen and understand. That is true. Gil has proven to me without a shadow of a doubt that most people are terrible listeners and cannot follow the principles of an argument. It's actually a huge disappointment. Rashad always responds like a student who was asleep when a teacher called on him. Dang, somebody went hard. This conversation shows why Gil and Brandon were stars in the league and why Nick and Rashad were corner and bench players for their careers. The next person. I mean, Gil's not wrong. The media can't keep pushing the narrative of winning rings, but then it comes to ranking players. You don't use the rings as a high-level metric on ranking players. It doesn't make sense. Ding, ding, ding. Somebody has it there. This is the moment Gil realized he got dumb friends. This is exactly why most people don't take players seriously in media, because y'all can't separate your feelings and bias. They literally having two different conversations. I'm blown for Gil. These guys are emotional. They tried to act like they were trolling once they realized they were too deep in stupidity to turn back. Rashad's stupidity is unbearable at times, man. They know exactly what Gil was saying. Nick got the brain of a nickel. So what I just did there was I went and I just read all of those. I just read however many comments I read. They are roasting him in the comments. They are finally seeing what his point is. The comments are seeing it. That's why I kept saying, should we believe or should we value a champion's view higher than someone who's not a champion and elevate that person just because they are a champion? In this case, the answer is no. That's why I don't put people in box. I don't elevate people higher. I go based on what you do in that situation. So it's situational how I view what you do. At times I can agree with you and at times I can disagree with you. It's all situational. I don't just give somebody the leeway to have me following behind them looking crazy when I'm recognizing that they have a flaw in how they're viewing the situation. I think Gil was going to go full crash out mode a little bit more, and then we're going to get to comment creeping and wrap this thing up.
With information. He came at me. I'm giving information.
Somebody that lost can't talk about.
I'm giving.
You're giving me all.
I'm not giving you. No. Wait, hold on.
Exactly.
I'm not giving
That's what we're doing. We're going back in time, digging up bullshit information, bringing it to 2025 like it's relevant now. Man.
That's another deal. How many L's are they really going to take in this one show? He said we bring it up like it's relevant now. These are the people that vote for the MVP award. These are the people who vote on All NBA. These are people who do that voting. It's always relevant. It's relevant every single year. When you have a show and y'all talk about who won the MVP and why this person won over this person. When y'all have a show on why this person is All NBA first team, second team, third team. It is relevant. You don't want it to be relevant because you're too far deep in your L's. You're swimming in L's right now. And now you just, well, what they say don't matter. No, it matters every single year. Every single year. This is why sometimes I watch Gil's Arena. I definitely watch it on super fast. I watch it on chipmunk mode 2 times the speed and see if it's, anything that I want to, break down for the show leading into that week. But I think that just watching too much of this stuff, you start to like a guy for their personality and you don't separate them for how they actually debate and break down sports. And I think that we are seeing a change in how the media is viewed, even player-driven media is viewed. So you would think, just using logic, person played in the NBA over 10 years, won a championship. For the rest of their life, they're going to be considered an NBA champion. You would say, okay, maybe this person has some valuable insight when it comes to breaking down a game of basketball, breaking down, what's happening in front of them in real time. You would say maybe this person has the ability to look at a series and say this person is playing the best. But then the one thing that people just forget to think about is these are human beings. Everybody's human beings. Everybody has blind spots. Everybody has bias. That's why some people just tend to lean more stats and what they see versus just going to situations blind. But this is why the media is changing. They're going to be, so the way people look at it is they look at it like when you look at the sports-driven media and the player-driven media, oh, they're going to be here because they was players. It's going to be player-driven media who fail as player-driven media even though they play the game. And a lot of the ones who I believe are going to fall behind and probably, I wouldn't say fail, but not grow as much as other ones are going to be the ones who use the Skip Bayless playbook. The Skip Bayless playbook is, I had a throwback clip that I put up on TikTok one of these days. I don't know at this point. But it was Skip Bayless. They were talking about how LeBron had, I think it was 27, 19, and 10. I can't remember the turnovers. It was when LeBron walked through the tunnel when he lost to Boston before he went to Miami. It was that last game. And the first thing Skip did was he brought up Michael Jordan in the GOAT debate and said, that's why he can't be the GOAT, all this stuff. Skip Bayless is on YouTube, the same place I'm on. Skip Bayless is one of the guys who created the culture for how people talk about sports. And he can't get on a network. He was on ESPN. He was on Fox Sports 1. He didn't even land on like a Sirius XM. He is on YouTube, being in the game for all these years. And that's what's going to happen to some of the player-driven media are not going to take that next level step because they're going to spend time trying to be the contrarian. They're going to take time just blatantly missing the point that's happening in front of them. Now, if you are a person that wants to go to the next level in sports media, you're a player, so you got relationships. How would you look at McCants, how he handled this argument, and see him in a setting on First Take? Could you ever see it? Nope. That's them putting the ceiling on how high they can go in this industry. Oh, they're going to bring McCants to a halftime show during the NBA Finals and have him speak. They're going to bring Nick Young. He's a champion, remember? They're going to bring Nick Young, put him on ESPN, and he's supposed to use this style and debate somebody. So it's going to be people that elevate, and there's going to be people who put a cap on themselves based on the route that they decide to take. And then they're going to be on YouTube like us. That's what it's going to be. I think it's a little bit more. I just want to play till Gilbert does his full crash out, and then we're going to get to comment creeping.
It is the top 75 just got to.
Wait, no.
What about it?
See, this is the problem with
What
these
about
two.
it? They got.
You know what? And now I'm
champions
offended.
are champions, bro. I'm not. Where's the top champions list? Why are we doing top? We don't know because we don't care no more. We don't care about who the top champions are.
So somebody else. You know why I'm offended?
So you wouldn't want to be a top 75 player ever? I'm a champion, bro. Man, so you rather.
Somebody got pushed out of that 75, didn't they?
No. Russell Westbrook and James Harden's in the top 75, dog. Congratulations. Shit, that's better than being a champion. Whoa. Is that better than being a champion? That's better than being a second option. Is it better than being a second option? Is it better than being a
So when you lost the argument so far, you just changed the subject. I want to find this Gil crash out because this Gil crash out is so funny to me. He couldn't take it no more. And I think he was like a lot of the people who were in the comments. He was just going off. Let's see if we can get to it. He's trying to have a real conversation with them too, which is crazy.
You're not defending Tmac. You can be friendly.
No. What did I say? What did I say?
Hey,
You
man.
said
What did I say? No, tell me what I said.
This is a crash out week.
No, yes, nigga. Tell me what I said.
What's going on?
Did I say
This is weird.
y'all compared Kobe 3 rings to T-Mac 0? Y'all, meaning the nigga I'm talking to, right?
Yeah, Steven.
Did I say T-Mac was better or Kobe? I said y'all compared them. So how can rings matter if one has 3, one has 0, and you put them on the same level? I'm asking someone a question who has the vote. And you niggas is acting like I did. Well, what'd I do? I'm asking a person.
And that, my friends, that's a mic drop. I wanted to get to that final point to just show at this point, Gilbert said, I had enough of y'all. I can't take this no more. Y'all just talking the talk. Y'all just responding. Y'all don't matter. So I wanted to get to that point. Now let's get to comment creeping. So comment creeping is a segment that I do. Let me get this all adjusted up for y'all. So this is a segment that I do that I bring people kind of behind the curtain on how people, talk to me or not talk to me. Some of it is, some of it isn't. But this is how they comment under my most viral videos and posts. So I had a video that I posted on TikTok. It actually did pretty well. Let me see. I'll tell you all the numbers it did. And it was on this subject right here that we're breaking down right now. It was on Gilbert Arenas and what he said. And I just want to tell y'all something pretty accurate of what it was. So let's get this thing pulled up. So it got 47K views. So naturally, it was a lot of commentary. There was a lot of people speaking on it. So this is just some of the comments, and I also put one from YouTube. But I just wanted to show y'all and tell y'all that accurate numbers. So big time numbers. Shout out to everybody who was commenting on there. But hey man, y'all gotta follow me. Help me get to this goal before kickoff. if you're on TikTok or if you're on the YouTube. All right, so this is the first one. So this is Kobe got those rings at such a young age. He was a number 2 to Shaq's number 1. Why is that turning into a negative? It's what he did after that solidified his legacy. And I said, I agree. Everything isn't disrespectful. I think that was a dub. Clap it up for them. Let's go to the next one. Disrespecting Kobe Bryant is crazy work. Kobe put in work to be the best. Tmac was one of the best offensively. If he stayed healthy but still couldn't get out of the first round, Kobe had that dog in him. Unlike these other places, I think that meant players making excuses if they had Shaq like Kobe did. Kobe went to 3 straight finals without Shaq, winning 2, case closed. So this is where people are missing the point. Gilbert Arenas, we just saw him close on what he said. Y'all compared them. Excuse me. Y'all compared them talking about Stephen A. This person is missing the point. Let's go to the next one. So that's going to be a dub. The next one right here. Nothing could be further from the truth as it pertains to the sidekick thing. There was no one treating Kobe like a sidekick. Remember the series in Indiana, he saved a few OD those games, and precisely because of that argument, he wanted Shaq to leave. How many of are actually adults in 2002? I was adult in 2002. I know it doesn't look like it, but you kind of see it here. You see the grades. The grades is there. Y'all just don't see him. I'm not this like person in my 20s that don't know what happened. Kobe was a sidekick. Kobe was viewed as a sidekick. Shaq was viewed as the number 1. Shaq had a crazy dominant 3-year run in that stretch. And I'll give y'all something easy. So if you weren't there and you got to look at stats, stats will back this up, but I'll give you something else. People who left their mark on the game have rules named after them. People don't like this, but there is a Gilbert Arenas rule. Look it up. It changed something in the CBA. Just look it up. Hacka Shaq. It was originally Hacka Dennis Rodman because he couldn't shoot free throws. Then it went to Hacka Shaq. And it was more prominent with Shaq because he was way more dominant. They changed how you could do a crossover because of Allen Iverson. Again, when LeBron was saying, hey, these guys were great, they changed how you did a crossover because of Iverson. They changed how guys dress in the NBA. Mainly in that era with like Iverson, Marbury, all those guys. So when they change rules because of you, you know you're doing something. That means you're so dominant that we got to change the rule of how this thing is going because you're that much better than everybody else. So we got to try to level set the playing field. That's the easy way to look it up. Shaq was the most dominant player in that 3-year stretch on that three-peat. A lot of issues that people are making too, they are merging gears together. They didn't play. When they played, I think that first year that people were talking about, Shaq averaged like 35 or it was something crazy. I ain't gonna quote it, but it was 30 plus and 15 rebounds. And then in the next 2, it was right around 30 and between 12 and 14 rebounds. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere close. So this is the next one. The driver, Kobe was averaging 30. The difference between Gil and Tmac is that they lacked the mentality and discipline. Even Shaq didn't have that. That's another thing. They don't attack the argument. They go personal. Kobe didn't average 30 until after the three-peat. The other stuff is not relevant to the conversation at hand. This person got really, they took it away that I kept saying that's not relevant to the conversation. The conversation is, did the media compare Kobe and Tmac when Kobe had 3 rings, Tmac had no rings? Did the media compare them? Yes, they did. Whatever else you're talking about don't matter. Your stat that you put up was incorrect. That's just a fact. Go to the next one. This one is from YouTube, and this is Peyton. That's supposed to be Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning has 2 rings. Brian should have said Barry Sanders, which would have been a good example too. Really good example. And he ignored most of what Brian said. He'd just be talking. That was about Ryan Clark ignoring everything that LeBron said when he was talking about that subject and just taking it straight to, oh, he's trying to protect his legacy. So a lot of people did that too. They just said, oh, Bron, he don't care about these guys. He's just trying to protect himself. that's not quantifiable. So y'all, I got some rules for y'all. We're gonna end this show on 3 rules that y'all gonna hear me say. When people bring up something that's not quantifiable to a debate, they know they lost. When people bring up shoulda, woulda, coulda, they know they lost. When people personally attack you and don't attack your message, they lost. That's it. That's another show. Another great show in the books. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. I appreciate everybody for being here. I'm going to get these timestamps in. This will be out on a podcast version releasing tomorrow on YouTube. Also, clips will be out on TikTok. Clips will be out on YouTube. I'm really pushing those 2 platforms right now. Help me in reaching my goal of getting to 500 subscribers on YouTube by the first kickoff of the first Browns game of the season. That's my goal. I'm going to keep posting every day, keep being active over there on YouTube. Help me reach that goal. Also, help me reach my goal on TikTok of getting to 1,000 followers on TikTok by the kickoff of the first snap of the Browns season, regular season. So help me reach those goals. I'm going to start, putting that out there, putting my goals in front of y'all more. Normally, I'm a person that likes to keep my goals close to the chest, and I just strive to reach those goals on my own. But this is one of those goals where I need y'all help, I need y'all backing, I need y'all support. So I'm definitely encouraged by the views and the comments on my platforms, TikTok and YouTube. So now I'm just trying to take that next step where come back. You know what I'm saying? Come see me again. Come check your boy out. I got some big things planned for this fall, just to give you a heads up. We're going full podcast. You're going to be able to get us on Apple and Spotify. We're going to be adding some additional time slots. We're going to be changing some time slots. We're going to be doing multiple lives in a day on Sundays during the football season. So we got some big things coming. You don't want to miss out. You definitely want to be a part of those things. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure you tap in. Make sure you hit the subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on TikTok. This has been another great show. Clap it up for yourselves. I'll see you all at the same time, same place next week. Let's get it.
you.